and I'm live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. Once again, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in the video, talking about autism. Welcome to Autism Fridays, or Autistic Fridays, the third and penultimate part. I hope I get around. I might just stay up late tonight as a Friday night. Why? It's a Friday night. In part two, I noticed when I looked back at my video that someone had commented in the live stream, and I've put on the settings on YouTube to upload the live comments that were posted live, but for some reason they're not showing on the side. I don't know why that is. Hence, for some reason, but I did reply to him in the edit. I hope that he's seen that reply. I think he goes, I assume it's a male, he goes by name, I am not Bob, and he sent a kind comment to say, keep with your regular uploads. So I really appreciate that. It's a kind of message I'd love to see, and I'd love to see more of them. On that note, please do let me know what you think. I really wanted to finish this before the end of the night, because I thought, as I said recently, it's when things are left unfinished, I sometimes have to look back and remember which ones I've done, which ones I haven't done, and whatever. I'm trying to avoid writer's block as well. I really love to put my ideas into action, but I'm stuck at 6s and 7s, as I say, i.e. very indecisive and mad, as well as potentially autistic as well. But anyway, these are pointers number 21 to 30. I have to remember them. Hope you enjoy them, and as ever, I'd love to know. I was thinking just before I ended the last video, I was going to say, I ended the live stream, and then I was like, oh, I probably should have asked. Oh, maybe I should have asked, maybe not, I don't know. But how would you empower autistic people? How would you financially empower autistic people? And how would you empower autistic people generally? And maybe from autistic people themselves and their supporters and families and experts or whatever. I'd love to know from people out there generally, anyone with any knowledge of autism, like, or even ideas, what are the ways you think, autistic themselves, like, what are things that you think could empower you as an autistic person? So I'd love to know from autistic people out there, and I hope you'll share these videos with autistic people and those interested in autism for whatever reason, again, whether they're support workers, family experts, or whatever they might be, even teachers or whatever, for instance, they want to help their autistic students, which is very kind of them to help others. But yeah, here goes. So these are pointers number 21 to 30. But yeah, I just want to say before I got into this, actually, I saw something which was quite sad. A little bit of a side topic. It's not autism related, but about South Africa and how it's descended into chaos. That there's a lot of xenophobic attacks against their fellow Africans from Zimbabwe, Kenya, Nigeria, and places. I think that's really sad to see that division in Africa. I hope they can sort that problem out and come together and support each other, and show that they can achieve things and prove racist wrong. So I think there should be an extra incentive for people from South Africa to unite and support each other and show what black people can do, and or even POC people of colour can do generally. Let's say autism related, but it's kind of the way that you're different. So in a way you can connect it to being treated different. It's like autistic people might be treated or often treated different due to the way they think or whatever. And on that note, number 21, I'd love to know about the factual history of autism and like how autistic people have been treated out. For history, well, I say I'd love to know. I think it'd be interesting to know, although it might be a bit very sad in some cases. Unfortunately, I don't want to hear about people suffering and struggling. But it would be interesting to see how far we've come along, what facts have been known about autism. Think about words that begin with F, facts about autism. I talk about things you ought to know. I play on words with ought, short for autism, and also ought, a word when people say like things you ought to know. I think, well, it means you should. For those who don't know, I think that means you should. The things you should know. But in this case, I mean, say I play on words with the ought. The spelling of it is O-U-G-H-T, I think, like you should know. But in this case, A-U-T would be short for autism. So yeah, about facts about autism and things that we've learned throughout history. And moving on, number 22, I think of like futures, in this case, autistic futures, like what could the future hold? How can autistic people be empowered financially and in other ways? How can autistic people show what they can do, show to the world what they can do and things like that? I think that would be pretty cool. I was thinking of mentioning South Africa again, but I might mention that a bit later and linking it to autism. Point number 23, I talked maybe a bit too early because I probably should have saved this for point number 23. But sometimes when I do these list videos, if I run out of ideas, I think, oh sugar, how am I going to make sure I don't stutter too much or get nervous or whatever. But yeah, I talked about like investing together, learning to invest. I'm not going to go too much into that because I did talk about it in part 2, and I do try and make the video shorter if I can. So I think I'm going to avoid going into too much detail about like Virgin Money and a company called Virgin Money founded by Richard Branson, and Schwab Corp, to help atypical people, including autistics and other atypical people, to learn how to invest, or even sometimes invest on our behalf, and things like that. So hopefully we would have enough money. We autistic people would have enough money, and atypical people generally like myself would have enough money to live on, at least. And me personally, I would love to. I suppose I actually forgot to say something point 17. I think funny enough, or whatever. Funny and maybe slightly enough, but I'd love for us to be, for atypical people to be philanthropists, to help others. I suppose again talking about South Africa, the fact that they were divided and apartheid means like being apart from each other. That was like racial segregation. But in the academic system, atypical people like autistics, and I suppose probably even more so like other groups like dyslexics in some ways, but even just like the fact that autistic people think differently. So even if their struggle is not academic, like the social side of academia, in many cases, and in some cases academic as well, autistic people treated differently. And again, atypical people, just like South Africa. And I'd love for South Africa to host events. I was going to say I can understand that with struggles with getting jobs and the economy, and I suppose not everyone who's going to South Africa has honourable intentions, and things like that. I think Africans should work together to help each other and look after each other and build each other up and have sympathy and empathy and compassion for each other, especially South Africans, given the history they went through with apartheid, but even Africa generally. But I'd love for them to host events for other parts of Africa, and also for POC, for people of colour, mixed race people, and for atypical people, including autistics and people with ADHD. So I hope they can sort this xenophobic problem out, because then they can invite other people of colour around the world to come together to talk about that unity. So that's one thing I would love to do as well. There could also be things for autistic and triple ADHD and other atypical people to show what we could do as atypical people, i.e. people who think differently, people who think outside the box, have a different way of learning and thinking, might have different ideas which we can contribute to South Africa and places like that, especially South Africa in particular, but even other parts of Africa and Asia as well. But yeah, moving on to point number 24, I would love for autistic and other atypical people to support each other all around the world, and especially as an anti-imperialist myself, I'd love to encourage as many autistic and triple ADHD and atypical people generally as possible to support countries that are colonized, especially on their Independence Day, their days when they struggle for independence, like for instance India on the 15th or 17th, I think it's the 17th, could be the 15th, but anyway, of August, and other nations like even Ireland on St. Patrick's Day, and I know that's in Europe, but as it was colonized as well, they're probably the main country I would support financially in Europe. But countries that are colonized, as I say, like even Pakistan, India, China, Malaysia, Indonesia, and all sorts of different countries that are colonized, especially on their independence days, helping those nations. But again, I love for us to work together worldwide, and I suppose it would be hard to imagine getting someone like Elon Musk or someone like that to, especially with some of the comments he's come up with about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Although I don't know if I entirely agree with DEI, because I don't think anything should be forced. I think it should be done for free choice somehow. But yeah, as many autistics as possible and ADHD and atypical people as possible. I would love to get us to, as an atypical person myself, to benefit countries that were colonized, especially again on their Independence Day, and support other atypical people, including autistics and ADHDs, in other countries, including South Africa, Kenya, Korea, China, India, and of course Asia and Africa, and again former colonies and that kind of thing. I think almost all of Africa and most of Asia was colonized at some point, so I'd love to support them. Number 25, but also I'd love to support republics. Number 26, but yeah, showing what autistic people can do for republics, obviously tying into the topic at hand. Number 26, as I say, former colonies. I'd love to support those former colonies and reparate them for the freedoms that they lost when they were colonized and ran by a foreign power, overseas power. So like when Britain ran India, for instance, or when Holland ran Indonesia, South Africa, and places like that, and when Germany ran Namibia and places like that. So yeah, I love to support those African and Asian nations, or whatever, or just nations generally that were colonized. I'd rather support those than the ones who did colonize them to us. I know with football, I support Italian football, so I joke about being mixed up as an anti-imperialist, still supporting Italy. But as I said before in previous videos, I don't want to talk too much about myself. I do want to talk about autistics more generally, but obviously I can't tell you what goals other people who are autistic or atypical have. Obviously they can share their goals and whether they agree with me or not in the comments, and we can do opinion polls together. But obviously I can only put forward what my goals and dreams would be for benefiting developing nations and former colonies and disadvantaged people and that kind of thing, and animals and young people, vulnerable people, children, that kind of thing, helping them to have a better future as much as possible. Number 27, maybe there could be rewards for helping autistic people somehow. There could be a list of those who help us, but again, them. Again, I feel a bit, I know I've said in the past, but I feel a bit fraudulent because saying autistic because I need to get that diagnosis to say for sure, but or atypical people generally, so should I say. But I suppose the financial reward, again, bring it to words that we with F, is the financial reward would be that you can cut crimes and hopefully can cut crime and cut the dependence on tax, so you can reduce the welfare budget and things like that by helping autistic people and other atypical people to have meaningful work. And I would love to discourage, as I talked about before, crime, criminality, and that kind of thing. So there's a financial advantage to helping autistics and other atypical people. Again, I know I'm trying to mainly focus on autistics, but with Made by Dyslexia, they talked about how supporting dyslexics is like $1 trillion opportunity even. So cutting the welfare budget by helping to empower, in this case, autistic people, and that could save a lot of money, and also helping autistic people to and other atypical people, let's say, especially autistic people, let's say, in this case, to achieve their full potential. Autistic people can then contribute by creating jobs, creating businesses, and things like that. I got to admit, I know a bit more about the dyslexia stuff, but I'm sure it's similar for autistics, and I think it'd be interesting if there was a comparison. Number 28, so hopefully autistics can go from a financially disempowered group to a financially empowered group. And I suppose, as I was trying to say in point number 23, and I've said in the past, I would love um, to have just enough to live on and the rest to give away to charity. So I'd love to encourage other atypical people, obviously including autistics, to do that and show what they can do with charity and making the world a better place. Number 29, as I said before, I'd love to see what autistic people can do for Italian football and for Celtic. And number 30, there was a few points I was going to raise, but I think I'll cover them another day. So anyway, as ever, I'd love to know what you would do. As I said earlier, as I asked earlier, what would you do to financially empower autistic people? How do you think autistic people can be supported to become more independent, as I say, financially and generally speaking? For me personally, it would be not by force, but by free choice. So I wouldn't want to force an employer to give us jobs or force people to give us money. To give us money as atypical people, but I would want that to be free choice. And on that note, I'm out. Peace and love.